Hello everyone, my name's Peter. I'm a senior consultant at Xledger. Xledger is a mid-market finance system specializing in automation, insights and scalability. And today we're going to be concentrating on the latter, scalability. So firstly, a common problem. In traditional accounting software, each client or statutory entity of that client has to be set up as an individual instance in that software. Now, as a multi-entity organization or as a business process outsourcer, one of the things that we're trying to do is to leverage economies of scale. But sometimes our finance systems actually prevent us in doing that. So a good example of this is if we have lots of entities or clients utilizing the same supplier. We need to set up that same supplier in each and every entity. And if that supplier calls us up one day and say they've changed their bank account details, we have to update that record in each and every entity. This, of course, creates diseconomies of scale. And we can see these diseconomies of scale in many areas of finance systems. If we want to process or approve transactions, we need to do that in each instance of the software. So with Xledger, we've looked at this problem and we've solved it with entity hierarchy. With entity hierarchy, you can have a holding company which sits above the clients or statutory entity of those clients. Now, these holding companies have many benefits. One of them is that with an entity hierarchy structure, configuration flows down from the holding companies. This means if you have common configuration, such as common cost centers or suppliers or chart of accounts, that configuration can be done in the holding company and it automatically flows down to the entities below. If there's something unique about one of those entities or you need to add additional record, you can do that just as you would with any other finance system. Another benefit of entity hierarchy is when it comes to onboarding, because the configuration flows downwards. If you add a new entity, all of that configuration is automatically inherited from the holding company, which makes onboarding much faster. Whilst configuration flows downwards in an entity hierarchical structure, transactions flow upwards. And what that means is if you post a transaction in an individual entity, at the same time, that transaction also exists in the holding company. So over time, all of those transactions posted in the entities flow up into that holding company to perform an aggregation. And that aggregation becomes the basis of a live consolidation. So what does that look like in Xledger? Well, you can go into a holding company in just the same way as you would an individual entity. You can look at the financial reports for the holding company in the same way as you would a digital entity. You can see all of the transactions. You can spin those reports so you can see it for each individual entity that sits below to form a live consolidation. And rather than having an Excel, this gives us one version of the truth. And it means that we can analyze those numbers right back to the individual transactions. We can also eliminate intercompany transactions by removing them in the reports. One final benefit of entity hierarchical structures is the way you can process transactions. So with all of the transactions that sit in the holding company, they're not just for reporting, you can actually process them through. So this means you can process purchase invoices and you can also sit in the holding companies and approve invoices. This means that you can sit in the top company, process all of your transactions and gain all of the economies of scale from using and utilizing all of your clients at the same time. If you have any questions on entity hierarchy or scalability or any questions at all, feel free to get in contact with me. My email address is peter.hucker@xledger.co.uk. Thank you very much for your time.